Hello everyone and welcome to my channel YNR Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The camera opens on the Newman Ranch, where Victor Newman stands near the tall windows overlooking the land he built, the dynasty he crafted from iron, fire, and ruthless determination. The morning in Genoa City begins with an unnatural hush, as if the entire town is holding its breath, waiting for something to break, something to erupt, something to be revealed that no one is prepared for, not even those who have spent their entire lives navigating lies, power struggles, betrayal, and heartbreak. His expression is unreadable but heavy, as if the weight of his legacy has started to shift from armor to burden. Nikki approaches him cautiously, her eyes shining with concern and exhaustion all at once, because she knows him better than anyone alive, and she whispers his name, her voice soft and trembling, "Victor." But he does not look at her immediately. Instead he lifts a single document in his hand, news that has come in overnight. And when he finally turns to face her, the truth written in his eyes is enough to make Nikki's pulse stop mid-beat. Their enemies are already moving, and faster than they expected. Meanwhile at Sharon's house, Sharon sits at the table staring at the sealed envelope left from Noah, still unopened because every time she tries to break the seal, her hands shake too much and her heart threatens to stop. And today, on this particular morning, she feels the pull stronger than before, like Noah is standing behind her urging her to know the truth he left behind. So she picks up the envelope and holds it like something sacred, something fragile, something that might shatter her or save her, when suddenly the door opens and Nick walks in, his face pale, jaw tense, eyes locked not on her but on the envelope, because he too knows what today means. Today is the day they can no longer run from what Noah wanted them to know. Across town at Newman Media, Adam stands in his office, staring at a photograph on his desk, a photograph of him and Connor from years ago, back when life seemed a little easier, a little more hopeful before mistakes, betrayals, and guilt carved trenches through his spirit. Chelsea enters, her voice steady but tight, because Connor has asked questions no parent wants to answer, about pain, about secrets, about the world feeling too heavy, and Adam closes his eyes for a moment, struggling with the truth that he is a man built from damage who is raising a son he loves more than life itself. And Chelsea tells him softly that they have to do what's best for Connor, even if it means letting him go somewhere peaceful, somewhere healing, somewhere away from the chaos of their own making. And Adam's voice cracks as he whispers, "I just want him to be okay. Because beneath everything he has ever done, every mistake he has ever made, that is the truth of him." At Society, Summer and Kyle sit across from one another, the tension thick enough to burn. Because even though they have tried to rebuild, to forgive, to find their way back, the shadows of jealousy and pride and insecurity linger like ghosts that refuse to move on. And Kyle finally confesses that there is something he has been hiding, something he should have said weeks ago. Audra is back and she approached him privately, wanting to clear the air. But Summer doesn't buy it for a moment, her eyes narrowing, her voice trembling with betrayal and fury as she asks why he didn't tell her sooner. And Kyle tries to explain that he didn't want to hurt her, that he thought it was nothing, but the damage is already there, already blooming through her expression like a crack through glass. Elsewhere at Chancellor Winters, Devin and Lily face off in the boardroom as the vote regarding the company restructuring looms, and the rift between them, one born out of grief, loyalty, and different visions for the future, has grown wider than either ever expected, and Jill storms into the room with all the force of a thunderstorm, demanding that they stop tearing the company and the family apart. But the truth is that the decisions have already been set into motion, choices made in silence, alliances formed in shadows, and nothing Jill says may be enough to stop the collision that is coming. Victor calls an emergency family meeting back at the ranch, and the Newmans show up one by one. Nick, Victoria, Adam, Abby, and finally Sharon, who enters holding the unopened envelope. Victor's eyes briefly soften as he explains that something has been discovered, something related to Noah's pre-accident suspicions, something related to the same shadow organization that has started acting against Newman's interests, and the room shivers as the truth becomes unavoidable. Noah left them a warning in addition to sorrow. Victoria tenses, her jaw tightening because she hasn't said anything yet, something she hasn't even told her father. Nick sees the change immediately, his eyes narrowing in hurt and suspicion, because he knows that look, he knows when his sister is hiding something. Before he can ask her, before he can demand the truth, a car pulls up outside, and the room tenses as footsteps approach the door. When it opens, Eva, Noah's love, the mother of Noah's child, the woman who came to them in terror just days ago, is standing there, holding a baby with Noah's eyes in her arms, wrapped in a soft blanket. Sharon lets out a gasp and raises her hand to her mouth as tears suddenly fall because there is just love so intense that it almost brings her to her knees in that instant, not sorrow, fear, or confusion, because holding that infant is like clutching a piece of Noah that is still alive, here, and there's Nick stares helplessly, unable to move or breathe. Victor straightens, his expression sharpening into something dangerous and unyielding, and he declares that they will protect the child at any cost. But Eva's voice shakes as she explains that someone followed her again. Someone is circling closer. Someone is already inside Genoa City watching and waiting for the right moment to strike, and as the family reacts, voices rising, fears colliding at last with quivering fingers, Sharon opens the envelope in her palm and unfolds Noah's letter. She then reads it out loud, her voice cracking at every word. Noah knew. Noah anticipated it. Noah wrote that if something were to happen to him, the child must not end up in the wrong hands, that the family must not fall apart due to old grudges, and that they must stand together or they would lose everything. Not just his child, not just each other, but the Newman legacy itself. For a brief, agonizing moment, it seems as though Noah is in the room with them, guiding them, and urging them to choose love instead of rivalry, unity instead of destruction. As Sharon finishes reading, there is a sound outside, sharper this time, closer and unmistakable. The sound of glass breaking somewhere on the property, the sound of someone entering who is not supposed to be there, and Victor's eyes harden into steel. His voice is low and deadly as he whispers, "They have made their move, now we make ours." And the screen goes black, leaving Genoa City on the brink of a storm that is about to shatter everything. Everyone was frozen in place as the loud sound of glass breaking reverberated through the Newman ranch like a gunshot. Victor's posture changed instantly, his shoulders squared, his jaw locked, his eyes narrowing into that cold, calculating stare that had brought down corporations, destroyed enemies, and built empires from ashes. Nick instinctively moved in front of her and Eva, protecting them both, while Sharon's breath caught in her chest. It was the expression of a man who has spent his entire life preparing for this moment. Nikki's palm shook, but she didn't freak out. Instead, she took quiet, deliberate movements toward the drawer where Victor kept a locked weapon. Victoria's heart pounded as she tensed up. Not because she was afraid of the intruder, but rather because she knew that whatever was going on was related to the secret she had been keeping, and that she believed she still had time to reveal. Adam appeared alive, intent, seemingly empowered by the danger, after he had been lying back in a stance of apprehensive stillness. Unfortunately, violence had always been his second nature, and danger was his familiar language. The cracking sound returned, slow, deliberate, leisurely footsteps in the hallway, as if the person who had broken into their house was not only fearless but also self-assured. Victor held up a hand. Nothing to say. The gesture alone. Everyone's breathing stopped. The sound of footsteps ceased. Quiet. Then, the hallway door creaked open on its own. Even though there were no doors open to the outside, a rush of chilly October air seemed to blow through the home. Desperate and protective, Sharon gripped Eva's arm. The baby sensed the stress and let out a quiet whimper. Nick looked around the room at every nook and cranny. Then a voice they all recognized. A voice they didn't anticipate. Avoid shooting. It's me. With a gloomy and urgent attitude, Chance Chancellor emerged from the hallway with his palms up. Mud and dust were splattered across his shirt as if he had been sprinting, and his jacket was ripped at the sleeve. His respiration was erratic due to speed rather than fear. Everyone let out a collective sigh, but the respite was fleeting. Victor moved forward. "Chance, what the devil is happening?" Chance scanned the faces of the gathering family, expressions etched with fear, anguish, and strong protection, before focusing on Eva and the infant. There was a glimmer of confirmation, rather than surprise, in his face. The individuals Noah was looking into made their first coordinated move as of 20 minutes ago, Chance said in a quiet, controlled voice. Genoa City has been infiltrated by them. They no longer merely observe. They are present. Sharon was on the verge of passing out. As her own heart raced, Nikki put a steady hand on her and helped her sit while offering kind assurances. Nick's hands clenched. "After that, we stopped them." Chance, however, shook his head. "It's not that easy. These folks are from all over the world. Financed. Covered. This has been planned for months." Perhaps years. And the worst of all, he stopped and swallowed hard. They have someone working for them. The room was silent, more silent than terror. An insider. Someone in Genoa City. Someone who is close enough to understand how they move. A child was born to someone who knew Noah. Victor was the first to speak. Give me a name, please. Chance paused. As of yet, we don't have one. However, they are already close, whoever it is. Additionally, they broke into the GC Memorial tonight. Sharon let out a gasp. What did they take? Why did they take it? Chance's voice was husky as he glanced at her. The medical records of Noah. Sharon's eyes welled up with fresh tears. Nick's entire body shook, but not out of fear but rage. The family wasn't the only target of an attack. The truth was being rewritten by someone. Noah's story was intended to be deleted. With tears streaming quietly down her cheeks, Eva held the infant closer. Because she knew something that no one else in the room yet understood, Victoria's face turned pale and her mind began to race. Nick turned and saw her reaction at once. Victoria, what are you aware of? Not from fear but from guilt, her breath caught the way one does when surrounded. The room tilted in her direction. Victor's gaze became piercing. Victoria. After taking a tough swallow, she spoke. When Noah discovered that organization, he wasn't working alone. She spoke steadily but thinly. He had assistance. He was being fed information by someone. Someone from Los Angeles. Someone who had spent more than a year integrated with that group. Nick's voice was hardly audible. Who? Victoria shut her eyes. My son. The room blew up. Sharon choked on air after gasping so violently. In a whisper, Nikki said, Dear God. Adam muttered curses to himself. Victor's expression froze. Neither surprise nor rage, only careful consideration. Nick's pain sharpened as he took a step forward. You didn't tell us that your son was involved even though you knew? Victoria's voice cracked. He pleaded with me not to. He claimed that his life would be at jeopardy if anyone learned. I believed I was keeping him safe. I believed I was keeping you all safe. Nick's voice cracked as he yelled. But Noah died. Victoria, our son passed away. Additionally, your son was aware of something that might have prevented this. Victoria winced like she had been smacked. That wasn't the case, she muttered. He was unaware that Noah would be their objective. He has been evasive. He is currently attempting to survive while fleeing from these folks in Los Angeles. Through tears, Sharon looked up. And without knowing the truth, you allowed us to bury our son? Finally, Victoria's eyes were filled with tears. Her voice broke as she muttered, I'm sorry. I was attempting to preserve mine. In that broken stillness, which was laced with betrayal, anguish, and something else, understanding, the room sat. Since all of the parents present were aware of, to keep your child safe, you would destroy the entire planet. Victor's voice was quiet yet firm when he eventually spoke. Where is he? After wiping away her tears, Victoria responded. Los Angeles. He is staying at a safe place under a false identity. However, they have located him. Similar to how they located Eva. There isn't any time. We also lose him if we don't act right away. Victor gave one nod. A choice was made. Without hesitation. Don't be afraid. Just war. Nick put his hands on Sharon's shoulders and turned to face her. You, Eva, and the infant remain here. We are bringing him back, I assure you. This is coming to an end. Sharon remained silent. She just nodded, realizing something she had not before understood. Grief was no longer the only issue here. It has to do with legacy, family, living. Victor took a position in the middle of the space. The magnificent patriarch. The lion. We're going out tonight, he declared. No media. Not a word. No contacts. We travel to Los Angeles, locate him, and destroy those who believe they can target my family. Adam had a flash of fire in his eyes. I'll be there. Slowly, Nick nodded. All right. However, we work together to accomplish this. Chance moved forward. You'll also require me. I am aware of how these groups function, and I am aware of where to search. Victoria dabbed at her tears. Time is of the essence. Victor touched Victoria's arm, Adam's back, and Nick's shoulder. A single coordinated gesture. Next we proceed, he stated. and the Newman family, devastated, distraught, furious, and unstoppable, readied themselves for war. In the meantime, beyond the ranch, at the edge of the trees, they were observed by a figure. To their ear a phone rose. The figure muttered, "They're going. It has begun." On the other end, a voice answered, "All right. Allow them to arrive. We had been awaiting." And amid the shadows, officially, the battle for Noah's legacy had started.